SQL is a structured query language, and initially it was called as SQL. So that is structured query English language. I wanted to communicate with a database or a relational database. For that purpose, we are going to use is SQL commands. Entity is a real word element and attributes is a properties, and relation is a association between one or more entity. Mainly in order to store the value in the terms of numbers, we are going to use this numeric data type that includes integer and even floating point. Hello everybody, a warm welcome to one and all. Welcome to the first session of chapter 2 of unit 3, and we are in the chapter 2, that is SQL, the relational database standards of BCA's 4th semester subject called Database Management System. As we all know that in short it is Dbms. I'm Rohini TS, Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, the Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. In the previous session of this unit, we have learned regarding the unit 1, that is what? Advantages of RDBMS. So there we have learned the advantages of RDBMS as per the Court's rule. So from 0th rule to rule 12, we have learned what each rule says about the relational database management system. Mainly we have to consider the content or whatever the data or system that I wanted to consider that as a relational database management system. It has to be in the form of table. So it consists of rows as well as the column. Rows specifies the tuples and column specifies the attributes or properties, and it must be able to access the content from that. There must be a security. It has to allow only authorized users, and we have to use one powerful programming language, that is what? SQL, in order to access the content of a database. So for that reason, we are going to have a standard query language, that is SQL as of now. So in our today's session, we'll see about the chapter 2 that includes a content with respect to the SQL, that is structured query language. So now we'll see about what you mean by SQL, what is SQL commands, and what is data definition in SQL, and what are the data types we have in a SQL. So as I told, it is a programming language, right? It is a query language. For example, if I wanted to communicate with a database, how I'm going to write a command? That too with the help of this SQL command. So that we have to understand its data type, what kind of data it is able to hold. So that is regarding data types in the SQL, and also in order to do some of the operation, whatever we wanted to perform with respect to the database, then it is also necessary to understand the operators what we have in the SQL, that is these are the symbols. So for what purpose we are going to use that symbol, what it means, that is what I will be discussing in the last part of this session, that is with respect to the operators in SQL. Let me get into the today's session with respect to this SQL. So then when it comes to the SQL, first you have to understand its acronym. That means what is the expansion of this SQL? That is structured query language. SQL is a structured query language, and initially it was called as SQL. So that is structured query English language. So we were using English words to give a commands to the database. If I wanted to communicate with a database, then I require a language. So that language is called SQL. So initially we were calling this as a SQL. Now we are using the word called SQL, that is structured query language. Initially it was SQL, structured query English language, that is what. And also this was designed and implemented at IBM Research Lab in the year 1970. So for experiment of the relational database system, they have invented this SQL or SQL query language in the year of 1970s at the IBM Research Lab. So after that, now we are calling this SQL as a standard for the relational database language. If I wanted to access any of the content which is in the database, that too with respect to the relational database, then we are using this SQL query language or a structured query language. And also we have a commands in SQL. For what purpose I wanted to use the commands? Mainly this command is a set of words or set of keywords which has its own meaning, which has this predefined meaning. So if I type create, then it will going to understand that a user is asking for creation of something. What is that? Whether I wanted to create a table, whether I wanted to create a view, or a virtual table, that is what? We are going to use some of the keywords, and each keyword has its own specific meaning. So when it comes to the SQL commands, we are going to use this mainly to interact with a relational database. I wanted to communicate with a database or a relational database. For that purpose, we are going to use this SQL commands, and that commands includes for the purpose of creation and for selection, insertion, updation, deletion, as well as drop. So you are going to learn about each keyword or each operation or statements in depth. So as of now, you have to understand mainly we are going to use this SQL commands to interact with the relational DBMS or RDBMS. Okay, so that insists or that includes create, update, select, insert, as well as we have a delete and drop. There is a difference between all these things. Drop is separate or different from the delete. Everything we will be discussing in the coming session. As of now, you just imagine and you just understand what this SQL command is all about. And also this will going to be classified based on the type of a name, what it has, for what purpose we are using, whether it is used for only for the definition purpose, is it using for the manipulation purpose. So based on their name, based on their operation, we are going to classify the SQL command. So that SQL command is a combination of keywords, identifiers, as well as clauses. So where class, group by class, order by class, we have so many clauses here. So in this SQL command, whatever we are writing in order to communicate with the RDBMS, all those commands includes the keywords. It will going to have a predefined meaning, and also it includes the identifiers, that is variables. We have a constant. All those will be comes under this identifier. As I told earlier, clauses are some constraint. What we are giving, all those together will going to form a SQL command, and every SQL command begins with a keyword. For example, if I wanted to create a table, then create table. So I have to use a keyword first, then I have to mention what operation is doing, for what purpose we are using. So that is what all the commands will going to be begin with a keyword. For example, you can see create, select, delete, and also we have update, insert, drop. All those are the keywords. So that statement or a command will going to be started with the keywords, so that which has a specific meaning to the language. As I told, if it is a keyword, then it will going to obviously have a specific meaning to the system. This is you have to remember. And also we are going to have some of the parts with respect to this SQL language. So if I say SQL language, SQL command is different, SQL language is different. SQL commands comes under SQL language. So in that language, in the structured query language, we are going to have many components. So that components include data definition language, in short DDLJ. Is it? It's not DDLJ, it's only DDL, that is data definition language. And also we have a data manipulation language, DML. Already I told you we are going to make a group of or classification of a SQL command based on its name. So these are the names what we have here. So data definition language, data manipulation language, and also we have a part called integrity, view definition, transaction control. Okay, so already you know about the transaction, how we are going to control the transaction, what is concurrency, what is serializability, all those we have already learned. And also it is include embedded SQL and dynamic SQL, and also we have a authorization. So all these components will going to make a powerful tool in order to access the content of RDBMS. So that SQL language totally comprises of all these elements or parts, that is very helpful in order to access the content. So by integrating all these parts, it is giving more efficient and effective way of accessing the content whatever we have in the RDBMS. So let me get into the session, that is with respect to the DDL, data definition language. So here first you have to understand one thing. We have a table, and the table, so how I am going to get the table, how I store the content within a table. First I have to create a table, right? For example, if you wanted to have a student, first you must have an infrastructure, then only you can call for a student. That means you can insert the value only when you have created that table. So in that way, if I wanted to use this data definition language, or if I wanted to get the benefit from the table, first it has to be created. With the help of this data definition definition language or a DDL, we are going to have that option, so that the SQL DDL provides commands for defining the relation schemas. Already we know about the relational schemas. That means what table it is, for what purpose we are using, how many rows it includes, how many columns we have, what are the data type of each column, and what kind of data I can insert into that rows or a tuple or a record, and what are the constraints we have, or what are the set of rules and regulation we have. Everything will going to be defined in the relational schema. So that can be used and that can be done with the help of this data definition language. And also we have a deleting relations. So if there is no relation or there is no association between one and another relation or an entity, then that has to be removed. Even that removal of that relation is also possible with the help of this DDL. And also we have a modifying the relational schemas. I wanted to change the structure of a table. I wanted to add some more content, like I wanted to have some more constraints, or I wanted to include some of the attributes or properties to my existing table. So all those can be done with the help of this DDL or a data definition language. And also this defines the conceptual schema which providing a link between the logical and physical structure of the database. So this is going to be worked as a conceptual schema. So already we know about the 3-level architecture or a 3 schema architecture. So there we have a physical level, conceptual level, and we have a external level. Conceptual level is also called as what? Logical level. So that this will going to help us in order to build a communication. That means I have to fetch the content from a physical level, whatever it includes, like we have a records, we have a fields of records, all those will going to be stored in a physical level. That content has to be fetched and it has to perform some of the operation, and in the conceptual level it will just going to give that content to the external level or to the viewer level, so that it will going to build a relationship between logical as well as the physical structure of a database. Then only it will be possible for us to access the content from the physical level and make it reach to the external level. So that work will going to be done with the help of this conceptual schema. So if it is conceptual, everything will be in the terms of entity, attributes as well as the relation. Entity is a real world element and attributes is a properties, and relation is a association between one or more entity. So this is regarding what? Data definition language, and also this will going to perform some of the functions or operation. So we'll see what are the operations or functions it will going to be performed. So as we all know already, this DDL or data definition language will going to build a relation between logical level as well as the physical level. So in this first step, DDL defines the physical characteristics of each record because it has a link to that physical level. So then it is able to understand what is the characteristics of each record. That means tuples, whatever the content I am going to fill in the table, that row or a value whatever we are giving. For example, you just imagine it's a student table and it comprises of some of the attributes. Okay, so for each attribute we are going to fill the value. So that is what we are going to call that as a record or a tuple. So this DDL will going to understand what is the characteristics of each record and what is the fields in the record. That means what are the number of attributes we have. So here it will get to know about even record, and also it will get to know about the fields or a columns, and also its field data type, because if I wanted to insert some of the value, then I must know what is the data type of that attribute or a field. So for that purpose it will going to understand what is the type of a data type, and also fields length, what is its size, how long I can enter a character. For example, if it is an age, then we can give maximum of 3 characters in order to represent the age. We can't give 1000 or 20 characters. It is not so necessary. If it is an age, maximum will be up to 100. So it will require only 3 characters, or even if it is 150 or even 200 up to 999, we can include that. Moreover, whatever we have to give, that means we have to specify its data type as well as the length. I have to maximize the length, and also fields logical name, and also it specifies the relationship among those records. It will specify the logical relationship between one record to another record, how one record is unique from another record, whatever we are going to fill in the data. or in the table. And also DDL defines or describes the schema and sub-schema. So schema is a complete table, like what is the table consist of, how many fields we have, what is the number of records we have, what each record consists of, what is its characteristics, and what are the constraints we have. All those will going to be specified as a schema that defines its schema as well as the sub schema in that DDL. And also DDL indicates the keys of a records. So for example, if it is including a key, like already we have learnt about the key, right? Mainly to find the uniqueness of a record, we are going to use a key. So it includes candidate key, primary key, super key, alternative or secondary key, and also we have a foreign key. All those details will going to be stored in the DDL, so that if I know its constraints or if I know what is happening in the table or a relation, then it will be easy to manage. So that is what the reason it indicates the keys of a record, and this also provides the data security measures. By making use of this key, it provides the security, like only the authorized user can log in with the help of password as well as the ID. So without that ID and password, they are unable to access the content whatever we have in the database. So in that manner, it will going to provide some security, and also it provides for the logical and physical data independence. So already we know about the data independence. If I am doing some changes in the ground floor, that should not affect on the first floor. If you are doing some changes in the first floor, that should not affect on the second floor. That is what physical level, and we have a conceptual level, and also we have a external level. So whatever the changes we are doing in the physical level, that should not get affected to the logical level. And if I am changing some of the entity and its attribute or its constraints in the logical level, that should not affect the application as well as the view of that application. That is what we have already learnt in the data independence. Even that can be achieved with the help of this DDL or a data definition language. And here you can see some of the commands which comes under DDL. So you remember it as a CAD. So that includes create, alter and drop. There is a difference between drop and delete. So delete comes under another language, but when it comes to the drop, that comes under the DDL or a data definition language. In order to create a table or create a view, we are going to have this create, and also in order to modify the content or modify the existing database object, we are going to use this alter, and also we have a drop. So if I wanted to delete an entire table and its view and all the schema structure, whatever we have, in order to do that, we have this drop command. So all these commands which comes under this DDL, and if I am using all these three commands in my programming or to communicate with the Dbms, so all these functions will going to be available and will going to be applied to all these three commands whatever we have in the DDL. So now we'll see about the DML. So as of now, we have created a table, and now I wanted to insert some data to the table, to the records or a tuple of a table. How we are going to do that? And if something goes wrong, if I wanted to change its content, how we are going to do the modification? That too with the help of this data manipulation language. So that is allow us to make a changes to the content whatever we already have in the database table. So that DML, that is data manipulation language, so this provides the ability to query information from the database and to insert the tuples into and delete the tuples from and modify the tuples in the database. So if I have a modification ability with respect to the RDBMS, then we can insert a content or we can insert the tuples into the table. I can delete that tuple from the table, and if I wanted to do some alteration or modification, even that is also possible from the help of this DML or a data manipulation language. And also this facilitates the use of relationship between the records. It specifies the relationship. For example, simply I can't delete the record because that content somehow is related to another records in a table, so that it will just build a relationship between the records from one tuple to another tuple. It will just build a relationship. And also this provides the independence of programming languages by supporting several high-level programming languages. We can use COBOL, PL-1, and also we have C++. This is platform independent, and also it is independence of a programming language. Whatever the programming languages that we are using in order to access the content of a RDBMS, all these will going to be supported. And also we have some of the commands under this DML or a data manipulation language that include select. So you remember it as a SUDI. So remember it as a SUD. So it includes select, update, and also we have delete as well as insert. Okay. So here we have a select command that retrieves certain records from one or more table. If I wanted to access the tuples or a records from the table, then we are going to use this select command. Also we have a insert mainly to creating or we are inserting our tuples, and also we have a update. If I wanted to modify the existing record, then that is also possible with one of the commands which comes under the DML, and also we have a delete. So this deletes the records. There is a difference between delete and drop. So that and all you are going to learn in the coming session. So this is regarding data definition and also data manipulation. I have a brief discussion regarding the commands which comes under DDL as well as DML. So now we'll see about the data types in the SQL. Why this data type is necessary in the SQL? Because we have a table and I have to insert a content into the table. For example, if it is a age, so then I have to understand in which format I wanted to give the age, whether it is in the number, whether it is in the wordings, whether it is in which kind of age or a value that I wanted to insert for that particular attribute. That is the definition of a data type. We have to define what kind of data it is able to hold. So if I know what kind of data it is able to hold, then only we can give that kind of data in order to improve the consistency of a content whatever we have in the database. So it is necessary to understand whatever the data types we have in the SQL. So even we are going to use SQL commands in order to communicate with the Dbms. If I get to know what kind of data it is able to hold and what kind of data I am able to store there, then it will be easy for us to give that value, that kind of value. So that when it comes to the data types in SQL, here also we have exact numeric data type. So mainly in order to store the value in the terms of numbers, we are going to use this numeric data type that includes integer and even floating point. So this exact numeric data type will include integer as well as a floating point, and it is also called as real, and also it includes character string. So if I wanted to add only character, then we can have a character with a size n. So this is new for you, that is varchar, variable character. It is alphanumeric. We can have both alphabets as well as the number as a value for the records. So that is what varchar of n. So that's n specifies the size always. For example, if I am going to give varchar of 10 for a name attribute, then this name attribute is able to hold up to 10 characters of value for the name attribute. That is what we have to give the size. And when it comes to the bit string, so these data types are either of fixed length n bit or varying length bit varying of n. So you can fix it priorly, or else you can vary the value or the size of this n when it comes to the bit string or data types in the SQL. And also we have a boolean. So this just will going to have only either true or false value. If I wanted to give only true or false value as a resultant or a value for the particular attribute, then we can use this boolean data type. And also we have a date and time. So this will going to specify certain formats. So in that we have to use this standard format. First we have to specify the years in the terms of 4 letters and put hyphen, then that is month. So in this month we are going to use 3 characters usually, and that has to be in capital letter. So first letter has to be in the capital letter, and also we have a date. So all these will be used in order to specify the date, and also we have a timestamp. So these are the data types, and here I have listed out all the data types what we have in the SQL. So these are all the most commonly used data types in the SQL. So first is what? Number. That mainly used to specify the value which is in the terms of numbers, and also we have a char, that is variable. Then we have a varchar or varchar2. You can use either varchar or varchar2. Within that you have to specify its size. So that will going to be filled up to 2000 characters in the length. Up to 2000 character you can give. But if you are using char, only up to 255 character it is able to hold. If you wanted to give more than that, then we have to use this varchar2. And also we have a data type in the SQL. So it will going to be fixed length, and also this time is started as part of the date. So here also we have a default date format for the system to be used. So that includes date, dd, slash month. So when you are using a month, as I told earlier, you have to use 3 characters. If it is December, you have to use DEC. All that in that manner you have to give, and for year you can use only last 2 digits. And also we have a long. All these are based on the size and based on the type of data it is able to hold. So these are the commonly used data types whatever we have in the SQL. So this is regarding data types in SQL. So now we'll see what are the operators we have in the SQL. So when it comes to the operators, all those are the symbols. So all those are the reserved words that has a specific meaning. It will going to be used in order to perform some of the operation in the Dbms. For example, if I wanted to add one tuple with another tuple, or if I wanted to merge the content, if I wanted to find its relationship, whether it is greater or lesser. So for all those purposes to be satisfied, we are going to use some of the operators in the SQL. So that operator is a reserved word or a character which is used primarily in the SQL statement where clause to perform the operation. So mainly to perform some of the operation based on the type of operator, based on the type of operation, we are going to choose the operator. So that operators will going to be used in the where clause. Already I told you regarding the clauses, right? So that is certain conditions we are giving. It will be comes under that where clause mainly to perform some of the operations. That operations may include comparisons, even arithmetic operators, logical operator, all those operations we can perform by making use of this operator whatever is available in the SQL. So that operators are used to specify the condition in SQL statement. So when I'm writing a command, if I wanted to talk to a database, if I wanted to get the efficient data, then I have to put some conditions. That condition can be specified with the help of this operator, whether I wanted to give the admission only when their marks is greater than 80 and lesser than or equal to 100. So if that is the case, we are finding the range, we are setting some standards. So in order to do that conditions and all, we can use this operator. So it is used to specify the condition in the SQL statement, and also it will going to serve as a conjunctions for multiple condition in a statement. If I wanted to add some more conditions in a single statement of a SQL, then that is also possible with the help of this operators. And what are the types of operators we have? That includes arithmetic operators, mainly to perform the arithmetic operation like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and even modulus. You must understand the difference between slash as well as modulus. So this slash returns the quotient value and this modulus returns the remainder value. For example, if I wanted to delete 7 by 2, which symbol I am using? Slash. So at the time we will just write like this. So 2 3 is 6 and remainder will be 1. If I am using 7/2 or 7 divided by 2, it will return the quotient value 3. And if I am just using 7 modulus 2 instead of sending 3, it will return the remainder value, that is 1. So this difference you have to remember when we have to use slash and when we have to use modulus. And also we have a comparison operator to make a comparison between the content of one table to another table or from one record to another record in order to make a range or in order to have a comparison. In order to specify the relational operation, we are going to use this comparison operators. So that include greater than, equal to, lesser than or equal to, is equal to, not equal to, even this is also not equal to, and this is not. So all these operator, comparison operator will be used in the SQL. And also we have a logical operator. Mainly to perform the logical operation, we are going to have and, logical or, and logical not. Already we know about these three, right? And or not. So if both the condition to be satisfied and if any one of the condition to be satisfied or and whatever I am giving, it will be just like ulta, that is not. So if my input is 0, output will be 1. So that is what not. And also we have in, between, to specify the range, and exist, I am checking whether it is present or not, and all, I am taking all the content, and any. So if any one of the content is satisfied, and also we have a like, that is alias. We are just comparing or we are just checking for the duplicate whether it is same as any other value, and unique. We are checking for the uniqueness in the content. So in order to do all these operations, we have this operators in the SQL. So here you can see the list of SQL arithmetic operators. So that includes addition, multiplication, subtraction, multiplication, divide, as well as we have a modulus, and each operator will going to perform its operation, and each operator has own meaning to the system of SQL. So that all these are the basic operator which comes under the arithmetic operation. Then what about this comparison operator? As I told, mainly to find the relationship, whether it is equal to this relation, whether it is greater than that relation. So in order to find the relational, or in order to make a comparison between the data, we are going to use this comparison operator. So here we have a equal, that check for the value of the two operands are equal or not. So if it is equal, then it will return true. If not, then it will return false. And also we have a not equal. So this is not and this is equal. Together it will be not equal. So we are checking if the value of the two operand is not equal to each other. So if it is not equal, then it will be true. If it is equal, then it is false. Then this is also not equal. So this is checking whether it is equal or not equal. And also we have a greater than. Then it will going to just check whether the value of the left side is greater than the value of right side. That is greater than. And also we have a less than. So it specifies whether the value of left hand side is lesser than the value of right hand side. And also we have a greater than or equal to. So if it is greater than or equal to, if it is lesser than or equal to, it can be anything. Either it can be lesser or can be equal. If any one of the condition gets satisfied, then it will be true. Otherwise, it will be false. And also we have not lesser than. So if this is not and this is lesser than. So not lesser than. That means we are checking for it has to be high than what we are comparing. So that it is not lesser than. And also this is not greater than. A is not greater than B. For example, you consider A is 10 and B is 20. So here A is not greater than B. True or false? It will be true. Why? Because 10 is not greater than 20. That's why it is true. So for that reason we are going to have this not greater than. And also next we have a logical operators in the SQL. So mainly to perform the logical operation. Already we know about the AND, right? So if I wanted to compare or if I wanted to get the true with respect to the AND, both the condition needs to be satisfied. That is AND. When it comes to the all the operators is used to compare a value to all the values in another value set. If I have a two value set, then I will compare one value with all other value. So if any one of the things get matched, then we will say that as a true. And when it comes to the AND, at that time allows the existence of a multiple condition in SQL statements to be satisfied in the where class, where it's raining and it's ice cream is available. If both the conditions are true, then we can say that true. If any one of the condition is false, then the complete resultant will be false. So then we also have any between to find the range and exist. We are checking whether it is existing or not. And also we are specifying the presence of a value. And also we have a in that specifies the range. So in between. So it compares a value to a list of literal value that have been specified. If your resultant is in distinction or in the first class or in the second class, we are just specifying its range. And also we have a like, mainly to use to compare a value to its similar value. We are checking for a like thing or we are checking for the alias values. And also we have a not. So this not operator just reverse the meaning of the input whatever we are giving. Already I told you, if it is equal, then the result will be not equal. If it is not equal is in if my input, then the equal will be output. And also we have a or. If any one of the condition is true, the resultant will be. If both the conditions are false, then only it will be false. And also we have a is null. We are checking if the value is null, then it will be true. So if some value we have in that, then it will be false. And also we have a unique. So mainly like and unique are somehow contradictory. So like is what we are checking a similar kind, and unique is what we are checking for the uniqueness in the content. So that it is used to check every row of a specified table for a uniqueness. We are just checking for there should be no duplication. So no duplication should be there when I am using this unique. So if it is unique, then it will be true. So all these comes under the logical operators what we have in the SQL. In my coming session, we'll see about what is SQL expression, and also we'll try to implement the SQL commands. Already we have came across all these statements in short. So in my coming session, we'll see about each command or each statement in depth to understand how it works, what is its syntax, what are the examples that I'm going to do in my coming session. I hope you all understood my today's session. Let me meet you in the next session. Until that, keep learning, keep on growing. Thank you.